Welcome back to the Log Burners Lounge. Over the next 12 months we're heading out to harvesters, firewood producers and sawmills to share industry knowledge, tips and experience. And what better way to kick things off than with Paul from Langley Logs. We're diving straight into his incredible setup, uncovering what makes his operation run so smoothly and getting an insider take on where the firewood industry is heading. If you're serious about firewood or just love the world of wood burning, this video is a must watch. Let's get started. I headed down to the north of Watford to visit Paul and his team, where they produce a high volume of firewood with the help of two machines from Firewood. Paul operates both a fuel factory and a transaw, both proudly made right here in the UK by Firewood. The Firewood factory is a fully automated system designed to produce high volumes of firewood, creating some of the finest logs in the industry. You can also separate the machine and use the splitter 400 to process our waste and split your firewood rings efficiently. This is Archie's fuel factory. Both Paul and Archie have gained valuable knowledge from no other than David Ward of David Ward's Firewood, who has been a huge help to members of the industry with woodcutters and transaws over the years. So if you're watching, David, Peter and the rest of the Firewood team would like to say a big thank you for your support over the years, and sir, I take my hat off to you. So we're here with another piece of kit from Firewood that you've had for a long while?
No, this is a new edition.
This is a new edition?
Yeah, we bought this from Firewood. It's a second-hand machine back in May.
A Transaw 350 XL.
Yeah, it's a great piece of kit, built like a tank. And yeah, we're really pleased with it actually. One of the things we were looking for was something that, you know, like produced really uniform logs. So you've got the laser level, the laser measuring system they've got here, which is flexible. So we produce fire pit logs that are 450 centimetres on this, and we produce small logs that are 20 centimetres. And it's a really easy adjustment to sort of get that. The adjustable knife setting is really good as well. You need to keep an eye on that. And the thing with buying a transaw is that it shares a lot of the DNA with the splitter and the Firewood factory in terms of how they work. You know, it's a fully hydraulic system. There's no belts or anything like that. And the support we get from Firewood, you know, they gave us a warranty. Obviously, they came and set the machine up. When they delivered it, they gave us a demo on it. You know, and they've been really, really helpful.
I think their service is second to none. Personally, myself, I think they've got a very knowledgeable staff, from the sales staff right down to the engineers. They all have similar knowledge. Some obviously expertise in some areas, like Ben will be good with the pricing, Luke will be better on with the machines.
Yeah, really good.
You have that range, but they all know what they're selling and what products they've got, and they provide you that service.
There's always sort of passion and enthusiasm you get with the Firewood team as well, which you know, means that they always want to get you through whatever your challenges are in terms of problems or issues. But yeah, and the other thing they did with it before we bought it was they gave it a complete service and overhaul. And one of the stories when they came and installed it I loved is that they said that they replaced all the springs on the interlockers, which is kind of the one thing that can sometimes fail. But they've been through the lot, and they gave us another conveyor, in-feed conveyor, because they saw that this one, you know, well, it's still running now actually, but you know, it's only had a certain amount of life left. So it's that kind of attention to detail to make
extra
sure
mile to make sure your productivity, you're spending your hard-earned money with them. They want you to keep earning that hard-earned money, and they're going to make sure that you've got a machine that will earn you that hard-earned money.
I think they've got the same ethos as we have. You want to look after your customers, and they'll keep coming back. And that's the same for sort of selling firewood as it is selling firewood machines.
But I do feel like there are a lot of businesses out there that don't go the extra mile. And again, it's not a sales pitch for Firewood, but my personal experience with Firewood has always been good, and they've not done me any wrong to this date. And I do feel like their aftercare is good as well.
Yeah, I mean, that was certainly something when we were looking at what machine to buy, and we looked at other manufacturers' machines. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good firewood processing companies out there, and they actually, a lot of them provide good service. And but that was one of the questions I asked when I was talking to people about their machines was, how easy is it to get spares? If you have a problem, can you get support?
When I asked the same questions for my Uniforest, I asked the same thing to Firewood and a few other companies for different brands of machinery. Firewood were the only ones actually to invite me down to look at the machine, take me into the thing. They've got this conveyor where they can find a part for a machine. It's such an amazing setup. And they entered this code, or I'm sure that's how it worked, on the computer, and then this system came down and it had the parts on for my machine. And I said, do you always have stock? And then they asked all the questions, and the fact that they invited me up to show me and take a look, I went, that, you've sold it. I said the machine can break every day, but I know you've got parts there, so I'm happy. Because that's the hardest thing in this industry, I think, because some of these machines aren't made in the UK, whereas Firewood's own brand is, but a lot of the machines aren't made in the UK. The question is, who does stock the parts? How easy is it to get it? Because the moment you're not running, your production stops.
It's massive. The good thing is, sort of we hold stock of parts now of the things that commonly go wrong. But if something strange does go, the great thing with Firewood is it's usually in the post that afternoon. You get it the next day. But with our old machine, the one we had prior to this, we could be waiting weeks, and that's then you have to change. Not just you can't use that machine, but you're kind of not doing the things that you wanted to do, and you have to then change your plan for the whole season if you lose that much time.
So how did you get to this point with your business?
Yeah, so we started up about 10 years ago when my dad bought the land where our yard's located and the forest around it. He had an interest in forestry and firewood. He had his own big boiler at home. He used to do all the central heating, and so he started up on a very small scale. Bought a transit van, bought a small processor. And was kind of just building up the business. So I was working in an office. I'd been in the corporate world for 20 years, looking at presentations and spreadsheets, and I saw what he was doing and sort of saw the tangible sort of nature of the work and the getting close to customers and sort of just the environment of working outside and in the forest. And so I joined him, quit my job, joined him, 3 months trial, no wages, and here I am 6 years afterwards, and it's been really good because my dad's in his late 70s now, and we run the business together. He's still very involved. He comes and works on that machine behind you, sort of 2 or 3 days a week. We work on all the projects together. It's one of the things that I get the most satisfaction out of is that we have this sort of small family business with a great team of people that have been with us for a long time. We employ friends here, sort of have joined us in various different roles. And we've sort of grown and we've enjoyed that growth process, and we see that there's a really good future ahead continuing in the firewood world.
It's about building your brand and reputation, I think, and I must admit, coming to see your setup, looking around, I think you have built a very good brand, and I'm sure you've got a long-lasting set of loyal customers, because I cannot see a fault with your product.
Thank you.
And that is honesty, and I see a lot of product.
Well, we've worked hard on that, and the only marketing we have is 125-star Google reviews.
Yeah.
And some of those reviews has actually been reviews of how we've dealt with problems.
Yeah.
We don't get it right all the time. We make mistakes, but customers have really appreciated the way we've approached that and rectified them. And so we have a really strong, loyal customer base. And it's that feedback that we've got from those reviews that help generate new business as well. And that's the only advertising we've got. This is our Eco Angus book burner. It's 600, and basically you put the fuel in here. It's fully loaded at the moment. Keep it topped up during the day. We let it slumber at night with some big logs. We've got 2 refrigerated containers either side of this container, blowing hot air into both of them with vents. We can put 16 of our potato crates in there in each side, so sort of 32 in each fill. That produces enough firewood to fill about 70 bags. And it takes about a week to go from green timber to kiln dried wood with sort of moisture content around 16-17%. And this is how we get the wood dry. We've got 2 refrigerated shipping containers either side of this boiler. The boiler basically runs off of scrap wood and arbor waste, and we fill this several times a day. It blows hot air into the 2 containers. That's vented to get the humidity out. It takes about a week to reduce the moisture content from anywhere between 30 and 40% down to 17%. And we use data loggers to be able to check the humidity and the temperature in the containers to make sure that we only take it out when it's ready.
So as part of our efficiency drives, we developed this hopper, which takes 4 cubic metres of scrap. Makes the job a lot easier at getting it into the burner. So you just shovel it all into one of these boxes, lift it up, stick it in the burner. So this thing, this is our most important thing at the moment. I've got loads of wood, getting enough of it dried for the end of the season. Yeah, that's the challenge. Every minute out. I think that's everyone's challenge, I think. Yeah. Especially at this time of year. Yeah. You ready? That's ready to go.
What sort of challenges do you face in this industry?
I think there's several. I think on the customer side, I think one of the big challenges is kind of the weights and measures side of things. It's very difficult if you're a customer to be able to compare different suppliers who are sort of selling different size logs in different size bags, or tipping them on your driveway. I think that's one of the things that we need to sort of better educate our customers on, to sort of explain the differences, and also to be really transparent about what you're providing people. So that's one of the things I'd sort of I'd see as a challenge. So when it comes to the customer facing side, in terms of the longer term, I think cord supply is going to be a real challenge going forward. There's been a bit of an uptick, I think, this summer in the amount of cord available, partly because there was very little available in the spring because of the weather. We have our own woodland here. We don't do a lot of forestry at the moment, and one of the reasons is that I see that there's going to be a time in the future where there's going to be a bit of a shortage of hardwood cord available once ash diebacks kind of swept through the country.
Yeah.
And all this dieback clearance has been completed. I don't believe there's going to be a huge amount of broadleaf trees that will be felled. There won't be so much thinning work going on, and I think that will affect the industry quite a lot. And I think it could see a move towards softwood becoming more of a accepted standard in the UK.
Me personally, I'd welcome that move, because I think it could do a hell of a lot for the woodlands, because I see a lot of it go for chip, for milling, which is great, but there's a lot of premium price on premium products. And I believe you sell a premium product. I believe I sell a premium product. But I do feel like softwood gets a bad name.
Yeah.
And I agree there's a place in the market for it. I wouldn't say it's as good as oak or anything like that.
No.
But I do feel like it does need to have its place in our industry, and to see how much has been coming out and how much is planned to come out over the next couple of years with the ash dieback. And when you do your replanting and you have your cycles, what are we going to do in between those cycles, and how is that going to go? Are we going to diversify and sell two products? Because either you're going to have to increase your fuel price to your wood price to a hell of a lot, because with the high demand, as everyone knows, things go up.
Yeah.
And it's just the way business works, and you might not agree with it, I might not agree with it, you might agree with it, wherever we're at with that. But I think if the demand goes higher than what can actually be produced, I think the price is going to go high, and it'll get to a point where customers will be looking, can we afford it, can we not? And that's where businesses are going to have to broaden their product spectrum and look at softwood.
I mean, I've seen that in the last 6 years. You know, the price of cord is, you know, probably 30-40% higher than it was.
Yeah.
And, you know, getting it is harder. You know, like securing it, getting the right grade, all of that kind of thing. If you can pay, you know, £120 a tonne for the really lovely sort of like stuff that will fly for your processor. I think that in the long run, that's just going to carry on getting higher and higher. And there's a certain point at which the market won't accept, you know, you passing all that cost on to the customers, you know, for every bag they buy. So I think softwood will be a really good complement to hardwood, as offering a kind of lower BTU, but kind of more affordable option for people.
Yeah, because I'm under the impression, I'm under the belief that Woodshore have come in, they've done they've done a job. Some people think more, some people think they've done less. We'll leave that for a different conversation.
You could do a whole podcast on that.
You could, but what I'd say is the trend of kiln dried, seasoning, drying wood, providing a good product is great. The costs associated with that have increased overall firewood production costs, which have passed on to the customer anyway. Customers, I believe, can see that, and they can see, well, we're getting really good products, it's dry, it's ready to go, I can see the effort that's gone into this wood.
Yeah.
You start adding costs on and it looks no different because the industry's gone up in price. I think that's when they will say, look, we're getting no difference here.
Yeah.
What is the benefit other than your log's going to burn a bit longer and possibly, at an argument, a bit cleaner?
Yeah.
So I think there's got to be discussions between businesses and their clients, and I think those discussions need to happen earlier than later. And I think consumers need to also research the industry, and hopefully by us doing this and other people getting involved, we can preach to people and explain that this is the way our industry is going. There are many factors involved in this. It's X, Y, and Z, and if they decide to listen, they want to learn about it, they can have a good understanding of why we're moving in this direction. Because a lot of people don't even know what ash dieback is. You know, and I think that makes a big change.
It's not an unlimited supply of trees. And, you know, we supply 10% of all our firewood is softwood. You know, we've always had that kind of percentage. There are people out there that really appreciate the qualities of softwood. You know, they might buy a bag of softwood and a bag of hardwood, start the fire with the softwood, or if they're just having the fire on for an hour or so, just put a bit of softwood on, and that'll burn out just the right time. Yeah,
so we found that. So we probably do about the same sort of ratio. We find that the price difference people like, so it's a bit more of a range for people. So there's people out there that may not be able to afford the top premium quality wood, but we do a good quality product, but it's not your hardwoods. But when they look at the understanding, if they're putting it on, like you say, for an hour or 2 hours, I know a lot of people have different opinions, but if you ask yourself, are you really going to see the difference in, you know, how much you burn over a month? You know, some people, I'd say not even evening burners, there might be the odd Saturday burner if it's cold enough and, you know, they can be bothered to light it. Some people have a fire as a novelty where they like the heat that comes out of it, but I know people at Christmas just put a load of logs on just to have the Christmas fire.
Well, there is this thing in the UK about, like, the harder the hardwood, the better.
Yeah.
You know, and like, you know, you get that with oak. We sell, you know, we have a load of customers that love oak, and that's great. And you know, we like selling it to them. But the there are some people that just think, right, what's the longest burning wood you can get? All right, I'll go for oak then. But they'll try and put that in a really small fireplace, and it won't light. You know, they won't be able to get it going. They won't get enough heat in the burner to get that to work properly for them.
Yeah.
And you know, that product is less suitable for what they're using it for than you know, something like ash or birch or softwood. And it's sort of trying to educate people that kind of like there is a range of firewood out there, and you want to try and match the firewood to your burning application.
And by all means, I believe that I've spoke to a lot of people about this, and people are giving me the same feedback, and some people haven't. But I have a feeling that not every customer is right for the business, not every business is right for the customer.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think some businesses can't diversify enough because there's not enough in it for them. There might be part-time firewood producers, there might be seasonal. Well, I know farmers who are seasonal. They'll blast out a load of timber at the start of the year, leave it and pick it up at the end of the year. And they run that cycle, and they don't want to get as big as this, and they just want something to keep busy with probably over the winter and bring in some extra cash. But when it comes to the customer and the end user, what do you think they look for in an ideal product? So what would you say, if you could pick one thing that you've developed over the time or you've had a good understanding of, what would you say they look for the most in a piece of wood in your customer's spectrum?
Gosh, that's a really difficult question. One thing.
I'll give you two.
I would say size and dryness.
So size matters. so dryness. So
right size.
Yeah. So
sort of.
When I first started, it was always the size. The dryness didn't matter as much because a lot of people, when I first started, people who order at the end of the year tend to go with the same supplier because they know it's going to turn up. They're not going to let them down at the end of the year, and it's going to be NX product. When I first started, a lot of the customers I got were people at the beginning of the year who basically take a punt in, you know, worst case scenario, they're not the right size logs, but they will be dry enough by the end of the year regardless. That's when I first started. You get your name out there. By all means, I provided dry wood, and if I haven't ever provided dry wood, I will say, look, we've got some semi-seasoned wood. Before even Woodshaw came around, this is what, you know, we will sell it by.
I mean, you've probably had this, you know, like I've had customers ring up and say, that last load of wood you sold me burnt too quickly.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same thing. You know, you check on the records, you ordered a bag of ash, oh, one was kiln dried, one was seasoned. You know, and like the kiln dried will burn quicker. You know, it's inevitable, and so kind of like, you know, making sure you've got the right wood for what you want to use it for. Sometimes, you know, customers will be better off with seasoned. Sometimes it's better off with kiln dried.
So I had like a bit of a innovation moment where I realised my mistakes and what I need to improve on. And believe it or not, it wasn't how wet the wood was; it's more how dry the wood was.
Yes,
and I had an issue where I'd send some stuff off to be dried in a kiln that was local to me. We had a really good deal going on. I also had some stuff I was seasoning. We had a good stock. And then by the end of the year, and let's say you've done our season April to April, because you always get sales in January and sometimes February, and it will die out then till middle to the end of the year. What I accidentally did for a long period of time is I used to put all the driest stuff that was still there, just leave it at the back of the barn and build out. And I was producing a lot, I was, you know, drying a lot.
Yeah.
It was great, but I didn't see the effect of that. So when I was checking on moisture readings, there was stuff that was, I'd personally say past gone, where you won't get as much out of it as I would say. So my perfect range, I'd say for myself, if I was burning at home and I wasn't a supplier, I'd want it about 17%.
Yeah.
And that's just me personally, because sometimes it goes out too quick. Sometimes, you know, it doesn't depend if you have a multi-fuel burner. But then I love the thought of kiln dried. It makes everything just so much tidier, easier to light, good amount of heat comes out of it instantly?
Well, when people ring me, I say, well, talk to me about where your log burner is, what size is it, and what do you want from it? Because some people, they'll use it as their main source of heat.
Yeah.
So they want it as hot as possible. So I'll suggest the kind of wood that kind of will burn hot. It will burn quick, but it will burn hot.
Yeah.
And and that way they get what they need. Other people will say, I want a decent flame on it. Other people will say, I want it to burn for as long as possible. And so I think it's important to try and always tailor what the customers, what you're offering to what the customer's looking for. And that can be not what you always think it's going to be.
Now, touching back onto a point of like bag sizes, different products that people offer, do you think at sometimes there's too much choice involved and it's not standard in the industry? Because I never know it's wood, you'll never get a standard, but do you think it's getting a bit too much?
I think, I think there is, there's this, if you went into a pub and ordered a glass of beer and, you had no idea what size the glass of beer was going to be, you'd be worried, or you'd be sort of trying to work out from your friends which was going to give you the best pint in the best glass. I think the wood business is a bit like that. Like if you're looking around, you'll see lots of bulk bags, but you'll have no idea how much is in that bulk bag, how high that bulk bag is going to be filled to. And I think that is unusual sort of for a retail business to kind of not have standard sizes. But I think there's two things that need to happen to address that really. One is I think suppliers should be very transparent.
Yeah.
So we put the bag size very much, front and center on the product page of the website, and then we talk to customers about, the level of the bags when they get delivered, and we also talk to them about the loose volume and the stacked volume once they've unpacked the bag, and then the other thing is customers actually understanding the difference that there are different sizes of bulk bags, and never to buy wood by weight.
Yeah.
If a customer rings me up and says, well, what's the weight of your bag? I ask them, well, why do you need to know the weight? If you're looking, because you want to stand it on something, that's important. But actually, if you're buying wood, it's much better to buy volume, because the more weight in a log, the more moisture it's got, or the denser the wood.
So, hopping on to that point there, would you say that the industry needs to take more responsibility for education? Like, how do you handle that process? Do you get fed up with that process of explaining, or are you happy to? What are your thoughts on that process?
I mean, I'm always happy, because I think if you are transparent and you talk to your customers and you make it clear to them, especially if they're asking those questions, then you're not going to get disappointed customers.
Yeah.
You're not going to get complaints. And I think making sure that customers are getting what they've ordered, and then they know what they're ordering when they're ordering it, it's really important. But I do think there may be a place sort of somewhere for more standardisation to be normal. So that you're ordering sort of a size 1 bag or a size 2 bag or a size 3 bag. I don't know how you'd get to that place. But it's certainly something that would make it easier. I think it makes it easier for suppliers when they're competing as well. So if you're a customer and you're looking on one website at a bulk bag, and that bulk bag's £100, and you're going onto someone else's website and they've got a bulk bag and it's £80, and you think, well, that's cheaper. But if that bulk bag is sort of 25% less volume, it's more expensive.
Yeah.
And I think that's the sort of difficulty that we're in, is that it's not a very easy market to do that kind of price comparison, and that's not good for customers, because they can't get an idea of where the value is.
Now, would you say that? So I have mixed feelings about this. So would you say that's down to people trying to not upsell a product, but trying to sell a product, or would you say it's due to lack of clarity and being careful of how people are selling a product?
I don't know. I mean, we've made our bag sizes smaller over the years, and that's for different reasons. Actually, we needed to make them smaller to get them on the truck that we had, but also we made them smaller because all the people around this area were selling them in smaller bags,
Okay.
and so we were losing out on the market that way. We could make them more expensive, but they look more expensive.
Yeah.
So we went more to a standard size bag. I think that there's a challenge in the industry to kind of, I think the trend in the industry is to go for smaller bags. I think there's a bit of a race to the bottom, to some degree.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, either more standardisation or more education, or at least more transparency, will stop that race to the bottom.
Would you say the race to the bottom is encouraged by convenience for the customer, or trying to save as much money on as would with a premium and putting a premium on it as you can? I know not every situation is the same, and I know there's not people out there looking to do that, but what do you think is leading the race is better to...
I think it's a couple of things. I think there's been a significant increase in costs, input costs.
Okay.
So fuel, you know, energy, fuel, wages, and timber prices has driven up the unit costs. And so in a way, making the bag size smaller, it's like the chocolate bars getting smaller means that you can maintain the same amount of margin per bag.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things within the industry that's made sort of, you know, to try and keep prices lower, made the bag smaller. I think that's part of it. And I think it's this trend in a way. I think you see sort of in the marketplace or the community, people asking what the bags that people are using, and there's been more of a kind of, you know, you the more answers you get of the same size bag, you then think, well, that's the normal, and that's what you go for.
So what I've noticed in the industry to do with a very similar thing you say with weights and sizes is palletised bags. So I see there's a lot more businesses than there were sending bags up and down the country, right?
Yeah.
Now that's not a bad thing, and some business models work that. Like mine personally, I haven't got the logistical setup to do that. I've probably not got the interest to do that either.
I don't want to run that kind of business.
No, but I do believe that somewhere down the line, bag sizes have changed to make haulage costs better. So there's no way you can be sending things from all the way up north or all the way down south to the opposite end of the country for the same price as a local chap can deliver his wood, unless he's the most expensive person in the world. I don't see how they manage it. So I'm wondering if they get it to a certain weight or a certain size, would the haulage become cheaper where they can eat in those costs? I don't know.
That might be true.
I've never looked into it, and I would love to sit down with someone and see how they do it and why they do it, because I think, again, I see people with really good products, but they're nowhere around near me. I think, who's that chap? I've never heard of him before. Oh, it's an online company. You have a quick look into it. Oh, it's good business. Oh, he delivers to me. How? And I can't even. I struggle with it over an hour. In winter, anything getting more than an hour away, it's like, well, it goes all mayhem after that. It's trying to keep up with deliveries.
Yeah, well, I suppose those delivery businesses don't have delivery drivers, you know, and are kind of, they miss out part of it, but they have a huge logistical back end as well.
Yeah, I bet that takes some working.
Yeah, and it's a huge cost. I mean, it's like selling wholesale, but to retail.
Yeah.
You know, because you're paying £40 or £50 a bag to move it.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to sell a lot nationally and have that kind of operation to make it worthwhile.
Yeah. I hope everyone's enjoying the video so far. Now, this here is an absolutely brilliant setup that Paul and his team have created between themselves. I see a lot of timber yards. I've done things myself, built jigs, all sorts. Now, if your timber's ready to go, this here is an absolutely brilliant method that they've come up with. Emptying the logs from the crates, or you might have cages in your setup, but this is absolutely amazing. Look how quick it is. You have one person on the machine, another person just sorting out your bags. As you just seen that chap there pull out his pin, and that'll release the handle. It's such a simple and effective method to fill your bags. And this is why I do this, because A simple idea like this could save someone so much time if you've never seen something like this before, and we can come together as a community and hopefully we'll be more productive and possibly make some more money. What recommendations would you say you'd give to someone looking to better their business in terms of their firewood?
Well, I think it's a lot of it is about focusing on the quality of your product. So, work out what market you're trying to serve, what kind of product they need, and then look at the factors that deliver that quality and focus on that. So what we've done, we started it last year. We actually have set up incentives for the people who are working with the yard to focus on the key things that we know that customers find important. And that means that everyone who works here is always thinking about what the customer's going to think when they have that bag delivered to their house. And that we keep that focus on ensuring customer satisfaction, really.
So if someone was starting today and they're looking to build a business, it's very easy with the technology and the machinery out there now, and the YouTube, like what we're doing now, to race ahead at 1,000 miles before they've even got the first bit right. But if someone was starting up now, other than quality, what would you recommend them to do or not to do?
I would take some time to think about how you want to set up, because I think it's very easy to think I've got some access to some wood, I'm going to go and buy a processor, I'm going to sell those logs to people, I'm going to buy a van. But kind of like spend some time looking at other people's setups, look at these videos and try and understand the steps that you can avoid taking to kind of get there quicker, because it's very expensive making the wrong choices, buying the wrong type of processor. Don't buy the fastest, biggest processor you can get if you're going to sell 200 or 300 bags a year. You don't need that.
See, same sort of method I go down. I'd say don't scale. Just have a soft intro into the industry, get as much feedback as you can, because without the feedback you don't know if you're doing anything wrong. Take feedback lightly, so
absolutely
don't be negative towards it. Someone gives you a review or someone comments on your wood, take it, just work on it.
Continuous improvement. If you listen to, rather than getting upset with your customers, they're helping you develop your business. They will tell you what you need to look out for, and you can build on that. So I welcome customer feedback. You can call it complaints, but for me it's feedback, because it gives you an opportunity to learn and to grow.
But same as today, I welcome industry feedback as well. We're doing this today. You've invited me to your yard. We've had a look around. We've had a good chat. We're providing information to the industry of what works for you, what we see, and I think there are a lot of people who do hop on a bandwagon, like always trying to slate something, even if there's nothing to slate. But bear that in mind, but also take on board what they're saying. Because if enough people say the same thing, then make an action. So wait till you get 3 or 4 people say the same thing, and go, right, that's something I should improve on. Let's take a look into that. And then before you know it, you're kind of scaling up. And I think that's the difference between people who want to be in the industry and people who are just looking for the reward in the industry. And I think that's the big difference. You want to provide a good product, you want to have a good name, you want to be that go-to company, good go-to person for advice on that firewood. Do it this way. If you're looking for a quick sale, that's not going to last. All I'll say is don't get too much finance, because you won't last very long. You'll go tits up. And that's just how I'd look at it.
Well, that's it. And you come here today, and we've spent quite a lot of time. I've taken you around the place, shown you around the yard, and I've picked up loads of things from talking to you that I'm thinking, right, I need to go and have a look into that. I need to find that.
I've got to show you those bag holders. And I'm going to show you. Obviously, everyone may have already seen it, depending on what part I put in the video. But your bag holder setup, we're constantly learning off each other.
Exactly, and that's the great thing about this industry and the community that already exists in the firewood world. I've learned so much from other people. And other people, are great at not hoarding that information. There's a real sort of, willingness to share. It doesn't ever feel like we're directly competing against each other, and therefore you can't kind of talk about best practice or talk about experience so that other people can learn from it. And that's one of the wonderful things that I've experienced in my time in the firewood business, is the willingness of other people to share that information, and then you share it back. And I've helped several people set up firewood businesses, who've come and visited us, and I've sort of taught them through how we set up and what we did. And that is quite unusual and quite sort of special in any industry to have that level.
Why do you do that? I know why I do it, but why do you do that?
Well, I do it because I like talking to people, and I think people who get into firewood are generally a certain type of people, and I find that I get a lot from that kind of interaction, and mainly because I've learned so much. I've had this business only kind of is in the state it is now because I've got some really good contacts and friends out there that have helped us along the way. So you need to pay that back.
Yeah. So when I give advice, I give it because I like to see people grow. It's nice to show people the right way. So one, your customer doesn't get ripped off, and two, your industry doesn't get slated.
Yeah.
So that for me is about education to help people. I do like that.
It's also really hard.
Yeah,
it's really hard.
And I make that clear as well. It's a tough industry. Like, it can get your mental health, it can get your physical health.
Most firewood businesses are sort of one person on their own, or a small group of people, often partnerships, and so it's all on you. I used to work in an office. I used to sort of work in a big company, and sort of if things went wrong, it would impact the business, but it wouldn't necessarily impact me. But the people that work here and what we're doing here, we're all sort of reliant on each other.
Yeah. And I think we're a different breed of people as well. Like, you can't go to many industries or many places where you can become like a fanatic almost. So you go home. I'm constantly looking at wood. You and me probably both watch Archie.
Absolutely.
Obviously, that's my Sunday morning. When I get up before everyone's up, I put him on in the background, see what he's been up to, even though I've spoke to him in the week. And so I feel like you become fanatics. What can I improve on? Oh, that's a good product. Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And you see things like on the Facebook groups, on YouTube, through texting even, like messaging, speaking to other people. I think it's not many industries can say there's always something new out.
Yeah.
Like, you got the APF show coming up.
Something else you can learn.
Yeah. So I do believe that we'll never stop improving. But I wouldn't want anyone to scale too much where they destroy what they've built, and possibly other businesses around them give people a bad name as well.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right.
Right, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you very much for having me up. It's been great to learn about your business, and I look forward to seeing you on the blog about the chat. Likewise, Joe. It's been really good having you over. Learned a lot from chatting to you.
We've got to do it again, maybe next time over at
Yeah, definitely. Let's do that. Cheers, buddy.
I would like to say a huge thank you to Paul from Langley Logs for showing us his setup and sharing his insights into the firewood industry. If you're in the firewood, forestry or sawmill industry and would like to get involved with this channel, whether it's to showcase your setup, share tips or offer some industry knowledge, don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to showcase your business in future episodes. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more exciting content coming your way.